It's February of 2019, and you know what that means. I'm gonna be posting a very belated list of my top 10 favorite media from the past year. In no particular order. This includes everything from YouTube to podcasts to movies to TV shows to blah 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 blah. So, without further ado, let's get to it, because Lord knows I've taken a billion years to edit on this thing and it is no longer relevant to anyone. A Quiet Place appealed to me on every conceivable level. As a filmmaker, I was blown away by the classical use of cinematography and sound. As a fan of sci-fi thrillers, I was impressed by how the story elegantly wove the two genres into something interesting and seamless. And as a regular old person, I was driven to tears by the performances from both newcomers and superstars alike. You get creatures that actually have personality and well-defined limitations, you get characters that are easy to root for but equally flawed, and you get a score that knows when to send in the strings and when to go completely dead. What's not to love? As of this video, I've seen A Quiet Place 5 times, 3 in theaters and 2 at home, and every group I see it with reacts the same way: vocal terror and delight. It's a kind of white-knuckled suspense I find oddly craveable, like free samples at the grocery store or a surprise office donut. A Quiet Place is an unexpected gift that not only exceeds expectations, but will make your whole day better in the process. Led by the mellow voice of Kevin Perger, YouTube channel Defunctland is on a pursuit to chronicle the history of closed/demolished theme park attractions. The series as a whole is expertly researched, well-told, and a whole lot of fun. Be it something you're more familiar with, or a Kansas City coaster that 90% of the world has forgotten, there's a natural charm to Defunctland, and I'm always left wanting more content. Which is good, because there always is more content. There's a book, there's a podcast, there's a blog, there are multiple brilliant spin-off series, please make more Defunctland TV, and there's even a VR theme park currently being developed by Kevin and some volunteers that will eventually feature every single decommissioned ride he's talked about on the channel. For me, Defunctland accumulates into something truly magical, a force that expands my perspective of art, brings nuance to my understanding of the entertainment scape, and delights all at the same time. If you haven't already, go subscribe by clicking the link in the description. When people say The Great British Bake Off is a show about baking, they're wrong. Well, half wrong. It does have quite a few breads and patisserie and whatnot, but the essence of GBBO is not in the food itself. You see, if the creators of the show were just about ginger snaps or tiramisu, the competition would slide into what I call sports cooking. You know, your Chopped, your Iron Chefs, your Hell's Kitchens. Sports cooking is results-driven entertainment. Just like football or baseball or hockey, you might get some context on the players, and the color commentary is exciting to watch, but ultimately, sports cooking is about the game. Who can be the best at what they do? That's the question. And I'm not knocking this genre of food television at all. I love sports cooking, but The Great British Bake Off is a different kind of show. There's no big cash prize, no ruthlessly competing to be the best, and no quitting your day job to become a full-time food star. It sheds all the staples of reality television, the cymbal crashes and hardcore time elements, the live Twitter voting, and it leaves you with a group of actual human beings for a change. And because of that, GBBO contains some of the most wholesome, encouraging, profound moments ever recorded. It doesn't matter which season you're on, or who your favorite hosts are, or whatever. The show is a simple celebration of passion. A little dry, a little wry, and a little reserved, in typical British fashion. When I graduated in May, one of the first things I did was go out and buy a Nintendo Switch. I had been saving up for around 6 months in order to get one, and I gotta say, worth every penny. There are so many good titles for the system. Smash, Mario Kart, Odyssey, but in my opinion, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild stands above them all. There is just so much you can do in this game. How you dress, how you eat, how you approach challenges, how you get better, what you master. It's all there at your fingertips. It's a system of play so advanced I found myself being completely absorbed. Every aspect meshed into some of my fondest memories of the past year, and for that, I think it deserved a spot in my top 10 media. Created in 2008, The Gaming Historian has been around almost as long as YouTube has. To give you some context, before Google released Chrome, before Rage Comics existed, before Obama was president, Norman Caruso was researching, writing, and editing his own online documentary series about the history of video games. If that weren't achievement enough, his work has aged better than any channel I have ever watched. It's as if Caruso has been able to miraculously subvert every annoying trend for the better part of a decade. The 08 stuff, while obviously dated, is super watchable, and has the exact same vision of the more modern videos. It shows an exemplary passion for the subject matter at hand, and an even more admirable respect for its audience. This past year, The Gaming Historian released what is perhaps my favorite video on the channel, the story of Tetris. It's got super high production value, doesn't skimp on providing interesting sources, and tells a unique story super well. Synopsizing the actual content feels like a bit of a moot point considering the self-explanatory title, but let me tell you, I had no idea there were so many twists and turns when it came to the history of such a simple puzzle game. The Gaming Historian is a name synonymous with quality, thoughtfulness, and detail. It's a unique corner on the platform, and one I'm proud to support. Last year on my list I had a classic that I watched for the first time, and this year is no different. John Carpenter's The Thing is a film without compare. It's not quite Hitchcockian, it's not quite modern gore, and there hasn't been a film to live up to its massive scope since. Now seen as a bastion of the 80s horror renaissance, The Thing was majorly different than the slasher staples coming out at the time. Both horror fans and critics turned a blind eye to its genius at the time of release, but since then, its cult status has only grown. 1 part psychological thriller, 2 parts body horror, and a pinch of sci-fi philosophy makes for a deeply captivating mystery, and John Carpenter executes on every single ingredient. Each character oozes with style and wondrously complements the nature of the story. Just when I thought I knew who people were and what the situation at hand was, the entire plot would blow up in my face, and in a way that felt earned. It's so much better than anything I could have possibly imagined. I won't go on and on about this one because in my opinion mysteries are best entered into blind, but it is more than worth the $3.99 Amazon Prime rental fee. World of Dance is a game changer when it comes to American competition shows. On the surface, it may look like every other reality dancing program, but dig a little deeper and I promise you there's straight up gold. Tension that's not manufactured, artistry that's not playing to the lowest common denominator, skill unparalleled. In the immortal words of Jennifer Lopez, I get goosies. The judges treat every contestant like they matter and give critique that's not only informed but earnest. The scoring system for each performance does its darndest to distill inherently subjective viewing experiences into something concrete and balanced. And perhaps most important, World of Dance lets dancers dance. A ballroom specialty doesn't have to learn how to pop, or come up with a really emotional documentary package. They can just dance. And while yes, some moments are cutthroat or tear-jerky, the main focus of the program never leaves the performance hall. Sweet and suspenseful, brutal and beautiful, but overall a dang good time. Definitely give this one a watch. The Movie Oubliette was my favorite new podcast of the year. Created by cross-continental co-hosts, Dan and Conrad, the show provides nuanced takes on little-known sci-fi, fantasy, and horror flicks, before deciding whether or not a film gets set free from an imaginary dungeon of obscurity, or if it fades into oblivion forever. It's funny, smart, and has made me appreciate the filmmaking process so much more. Conrad and Dan are incredibly talented artists, and they stamp every episode with a high level of creativity and attention to detail. Tuning in means you'll be treated to completely custom sound design. Not only a super catchy theme song, but musical stingers and sound effects that cater to the film at hand. And then we get into the meat of the show, with banter and analysis that feels focused, but freely floats to interesting segues and fun facts. It's the kind of show that approaches things with an open mind, is humble enough to allow for civil disagreement, and makes a real effort to entertain. I haven't seen a single movie they've talked about so far, but you honestly don't have to in order to appreciate the genuine nature of two really cool people talking about something they love. Go download it ASAP. Eighth grade's stripped-down approach to teen cinema produced something undeniably fantastic that I will forever point to in my career as a filmmaker. I've already written a review about it, my brother wrote a review about it, and there are hundreds of movie people online that have picked it apart in various ways. But what I want to focus on for a second here is the detail of it all, because honestly, that's what pushed this one from pretty dang good to top 10 levels of amazingness. Sniffing markers, popping braces, a crappy little podium that was bought back in the 1980s, well-meaning teachers desperately trying to connect, an electronic score that'll send your neck hairs. A signed playbill from the local production you've long forgot about, a ponytail and the band instructor, headphones in to drown out the sadness, wall decor that makes no sense but for some reason is in all the rich kid houses, simultaneously being totally engaged and totally disengaged, etc., etc., etc. Focusing that intimately on the modern young adult zeitgeist is not easy to do, and most people who try are written off by critics as wastes of time. It makes me beyond happy to see that Bo Burnham and his team were brave enough and talented enough to pull this one off, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Y'all, Into the Spiderverse is straight up buck-wild, bonkers, insane in the membrane, cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. It is a miracle movie. It should not exist, and yet it does. It should be terrible, and yet it is ridiculously good. Okay, let's run a scenario. Imagine it's 2017. So we at Marvel Studios, yes, that Marvel, have decided to partner up with the same people that brought you the Emoji Movie and Hotel Transylvania. What do you think of that plan?
It sounds like a really bad idea.
Okay, but what if I told you our first film going forward was going to be another Spider-Man reboot, even though we just had one, and most people can barely figure out where the Andrew Garfield ends and the Tom Holland begins? Fine. Let's make things interesting. What if I told you the film was going to have multiple villains, multiple Spider-Mans, and a sort of time-travel-y sci-fi element?
This is gonna be a structural disaster the likes of which animation has never seen before.
And then it wasn't! In fact, it was one of the most interesting, thoughtful, fun, visually innovative, well-adapted, tightly written comic book movies ever made, ever. I loved every character, I laughed at every joke, I fell into every action sequence. It is an experience of a movie. The casting was perfection, the character design sublime, the soundtrack is the best of the year by far. And yeah, I said that because A Star is Born can eat dirt. I don't care that the music wasn't 100% developed for the movie. Every needle drop meant something. It always delivered the right tone, and it accumulated into a totally fresh and distinct voice. Get on this level, people. I'm so happy I get to live in a time where this movie exists. It feels like a dream come to life. Go see it. Thanks for watching my video. Wow, you made it to the very end. If you liked that, then you can also subscribe, which would be chill, or you can follow me on Twitter at IsaacLastName. If you're looking for just more and more, you can't get enough of that good Isaac flavor, I'm also posting to my blog, isaaaclastname.com/blog, hopefully weekly. Movie reviews, movie analysis, TV stuff, you know, just general writings on the entertainment scape at large. So if that sounds like a jam, you can check that out too. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.